27.
Hare Krishna. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jayo Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jayo Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 25, Text 28 is on the board. So I'll try to read the verse first, and you can repeat. Tvam Khrir Bhavani Asya Tavag Ramapatim Vichindvat Kim Munivadrahovane Tvad Angrikamapta Samastakamam Kvapadma Kosha Patitah Karagrat Tvam Khrir Bhavani Asya Tavagramapatim Vichindvat Kim Munivadrahovane Tvadangrikam Samastakamam Kvapadma Koshah Patitah Karagrat. Okay, maybe somebody can try. Tvam Khrir Bhavanyasya Tavagramapatim Vichindvat Kim Munivadrahovane Tvad Angrikamapta Samastakamam Kvapadma Kosha Patita Karagrat. Okay, maybe Mataji's. Tvam Khrir Bhavanyasya Tavagramapatim Vichindvati Kim Munivadrahovane Tvadangrikam Samastakamam Kvapadma Kosha Patita Karagrat. Tvam, you, Hri, shyness, Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva, Asi, are, Atha, rather, Vak, Saraswati, the goddess of learning, Rama, the goddess of fortune, Patim, husband, Vichindvati, searching after, thinking of. Kim, are you? Munivat, like a sage. Rahaha, in this lonely place. Vane, in the forest. Tvat Angri, your feet. Kama, desiring. Apta, achieved. Samasta, all. Kamam, desirable things. Kva, where is. Padmakoshaha, the lotus flower. Patitaha, fallen. Kara, of the hand. Agrat, from the front portion or palm. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. My dear beautiful girl, you are exactly like the goddess of fortune, or the wife of Lord Shiva, or the goddess of learning, the wife of Lord Brahma. Although you must be one of them, I see that you are loitering in this forest. Indeed, you are as silent as the great sages. Is it that you are searching after your own husband? Whoever your husband may be, simply by understanding that you are so faithful to him, he will come to possess all opulence. I think you must be the goddess of fortune, but I do not see the lotus flower in your hand. Therefore, I am asking you where you have thrown that lotus. Purport. Okay, it's one page purport, so try to speak clearly. Everyone thinks that his intelligence is perfect. Sometimes one employs his intelligence in the worship of Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva, in order to obtain a beautiful wife. Sometimes, when one wants to become as learned as Lord Brahma, he employs his intelligence in the worship of the goddess of learning, Saraswati. Sometimes, when one wishes to become as opulent as Lord Vishnu, he worships the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. In this verse, all these inquiries are made by King Puranjana, the living entity who is bewildered and does not know how to employ his intelligence. Intelligence should be employed in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As soon as one uses his intelligence in this way, the goddess of fortune automatically becomes favorable to him. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, never remains without her husband, Lord Vishnu. Consequently, when one worships Lord Vishnu, he automatically obtains the favor of the goddess of fortune. One should not, like Ravana, worship the goddess of fortune alone, for she cannot remain long without her husband. Thus, her other name is Chanchala, or restless. In this verse, it is clear that Puranjana is representing our intelligence while he is talking with the girl. He not only appreciated the shyness of the girl, but actually became more and more attracted by that shyness. He was actually thinking of becoming her husband, and consequently was asking her whether she was thinking of her prospective husband or whether she was married. This is an example of Bhoga Ichcha, the desire for enjoyment. One who is attracted by such desires becomes conditioned in this material world, and one who is not so attracted attains liberation. King Puranjana was appreciating the beauty of the girl as if she were the goddess of fortune. But at the same time, he was careful to understand that the goddess of fortune cannot be enjoyed by anyone except Lord Vishnu. Since he doubted whether the girl was the goddess of fortune, he inquired about the lotus flower she was not holding. The material world is also the goddess of fortune, because the material energy works under the direction of Lord Vishnu. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Maya adakshena prakriti suryate sa chara acharam. The material world cannot be enjoyed by any living entity. If one so desires to enjoy it, he immediately becomes a demon like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu or Kamsa. Because Ravana wanted to enjoy the goddess of fortune, Sita Devi. He was vanquished with all his family, wealth and opulence. One can, however, enjoy that Maya bestowed upon the living entity by Lord Vishnu. The satisfaction of one's senses and desires means enjoying Maya, not the goddess of fortune. Okay, one more time translation. My dear beautiful girl, you are exactly like the goddess of fortune, or the wife of Lord Shiva, or the goddess of learning, the wife of Lord Brahma. Although you must be one of them, I see that you are loitering in this forest. Indeed, you are as silent as the great sages. It is that you are searching after your own husband? Whoever your husband may be, simply by understanding that you are so faithful to him, he will come to possess all opulences. I think you must be the goddess of fortune, but I do not see the lotus flower in your hand. Therefore, I am asking you, where you have thrown that lotus. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachanam Pango Lagate Girim Yat Kripaya Tamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Om Vishnupada Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome to the Bhagavatam class, and I want to express my appreciation for welcoming me in this nice palace temple and where I was for a few days, and I saw that is such a nice atmosphere, such a nice devotees, and I'm happy to try to share something from the Bhagavatam with you, and try to also understand myself, because maybe it's not so understandable. Even after this chapter, very soon, the king will say, you know, this is all in allegory. Please explain it to me once more again. I don't understand. So we shouldn't be discouraged if we don't get it in the first go. And after some chapters, Jadabharata will explain to Maharaj Rahugana, I think, the similar thing, the forest of material enjoyment. And it will be repeated in 2 more chapters, again and again. It will be repeated 3 times. And just it's so simple, but for the conditioned soul, usually very difficult to get for the first time and apply in his life. And here in this verse we can understand why is it so. Srila Prabhupada says in the first sentence, everyone thinks that his intelligence is perfect. And that's it. If you decide in your heart that your intelligence is perfect, you don't need anything else. You are already done with your learning and with the way you will handle and see the world. And here the point is intelligence. That Srila Prabhupada says that King Puranjana represents the living entity who is bewildered and does not know how to employ his intelligence. Bewildered is a little bit like an archaic word, a bit, and it has few meanings. It means like confused or overly impressed sometimes. For me, that bewildered word comes, one way to understand it is when, usually in India it comes like that, when you have like a group of brahmacharis and then you visit the donors. So if you have a brahmacharis, usually a brahmacharis, it doesn't mean about ashram, but just saying, usually brahmacharis, if they are fixed in their sadhana, they come to the donor and it's like a nice, usually palace, and I was one time, first you go and see the whole palace without the donor. You just see every room, even his bathroom and his wardrobes and everything. And I was thinking, because I didn't know, why am I seeing all these things? And I was asking, why? What is the importance of that? So you can talk and appreciate his things better. Afterwards, if you come to him and say, your house is so beautiful, you actually know that it's beautiful. You are not flattering. It's truth. So it's like that. So we saw everything that he owns, actually, before we met him. And the ones who have fixed sadhana, who are reading, whose intelligence are fixed in the knowledge of the Vedas, then they see, okay, he's rich, but not a big deal. But some of them just come out like looking, you can see the brain. Oh, I'm losing so much with these boys. I'm just eating and just going to some books. I'm just wasting my life, because he gets bewildered. This bewilderment, he doesn't know. Wow, he gets impressed because his intelligence is not yet fixed in the knowledge of the scriptures. And then we could get lost here in seeing that from the West, what is this worship of Uma, worship of Saraswati, worship of like this. We don't do this, but we actually do this. This means we direct our intelligence in what we consider valuable for us. This means artha or anartha. Conditioned person has anarthas. Anartha means something that is not valuable, but you put value on it. Like people decided that they print some papers and they place value on it. Actually, the paper doesn't have value in itself, but we place value on it. So we do exactly like that. If we place value on learning, we will sacrifice anything for that goal that we have. Or if we place value on getting a wife, then this will be our priority in life. And of course, we shouldn't be, a fanatic person would say, everything is bad, learning is bad, women are bad. That's not the point. An intelligent person has many priorities in life, although that can be maybe an oxymoron. You cannot have many priorities, but many important things in life. First, he puts his devotional service, the changing of his heart, the transforming his heart into what he actually is, a lover of God. So this is the main value, to become a lover of God, to achieve love of Godhead. But he also has other priorities in life. He also has to be learned somewhat. He also has to, usually, most of the people have to get married. So these are not bad things. It is just that we have to understand them in the proper way. And this means intelligence. Intelligence means not just this is good, this is bad, but how is this good, when is this good, and how is this bad, and when is this bad. So it is subtle. It requires thinking about it. And I was just listening to one lecture from Bhaktiyananda Tirtha Maharaj, and he was explaining how most of the people in the religious institution are usually, that's his experience, very shallow in approaching religiosity and spirituality. It's something that he would say, yes. But we can look at ourselves and think about how much do we think about what we read. If we got it like this, we shouldn't read it so many times. But I don't know if you have experience reading the Bhagavad Gita over and over. You will see that you read something that you didn't remember even that purport was there. Not that sentence was there, but even the whole purport is a new thing. At least I have that experience. So it's very important to really think about our teachings. What does it mean that we are not this body and we are a spirit soul? So first of all, some people just take the first half. We are not this body. And then they, with that half of knowledge, try to just deny his or her needs. And what happens, this is a neophyte, of course, a beginner, and what happens then, at least in my experience with myself, the teaching says we should give this, Prabhupada says, give at least this life to Krishna. He doesn't say give 4 years of your life to Krishna. He says give this life for Krishna. So an intelligent person, when we compare it to a emotional person, and this is emotional used in a bad way, a person who cannot think, but he just acts upon his urges, speaks, does things in that way. Emotional person, emotions are not bad, but a person who is like a child, although he has 45, 50 years, he will not be able to handle this world. And now something comes up to my mind, which Kandabakarana Maharaj always was comparing, how to understand what is a child. That there was maybe most of you know that, but it's a good example. So an experiment was done with this sociological experience, where they followed a group of people from their age of 6 or 8, something like that, until they were 36 or 38 or 30 years. So it's a good study, and it's called the marshmallow test. A marshmallow is a sweet. Everybody likes it in America. Here we don't even have it, at least in my country. And anyway, they put children in a room and they told them, here is a marshmallow, it's great, but if you don't take it, you wait until I come back, you will get 2. So that is the point. Will you act upon your urge, just grab it, or will you think that if I hold on for now, in the future, I will get double the price? So this is an intelligent person. He thinks about time, place, circumstances, about the future. He considers things. This is intelligence. But an emotional person, and I'm using in a derogatory way, but it's not a derogatory term. An emotional person would just do it, and it's the Nike logo. Just do it, and the children who just did it, who just took it, it says that some of them just didn't wait even for the person to explain the experiment. Just took it, ate it. There was no time, because you never know. This is our mentality. You never know when you're going to get it next. If you see that somebody lost 100 euros, you take it, because you never know when you're going to find 100 euros. It's not so often. You just take it, put it, and go. That is the mentality. So, but the ones who didn't take it, in that experience, proved to be more successful in life. It's a simple experiment, but it gave a nice result. That the people who can just say, wait a minute, is this now good for me? Is the way of thinking now good for me, and will it bring me benefit in the future? And that is when we speak about intelligence. I heard one Christian priest say something in a little bit poetic way, that you should stand on the doors of your mind and receive the thoughts and say, where are you coming from? Are you coming from God, or are you coming from, like they say, Maya? Let's say that they say like this. So this means that in your spiritual life, of course, in the beginning we just run. We are a movement, so we are running. But one day, and we should get to it, we will become a society. This means we sit down sometimes, and we grow in quality, not just in quantity. Of course, we move also, but sometimes we also stop. We don't just run. So also in our spiritual life, I read these books a few times, and I'm surprised how little I imbibed it in my life when some challenges come, or how little I remember. Like yesterday, Prabhu was speaking about Prabhupada's quotes, and they were just exactly Prabhupada's quotes, very nicely remembered. And That is the point. That when our intelligence is fixed, that not just we are not the body, but we are the soul. So this means, how should I act now? How does the soul think? How does the soul feel? How does the soul understand things? And that Prabhupada explains how to understand what is said here, how to change our heart. It says many times, changing of heart. And it's really like this. It's not just like a romantic notion. It's really changing and this heart doesn't mean the organ, but it means chitta, our attention, our full consciousness. Where is it put? Is it put on the fear that I will not get enough enjoyments? And then we can think, okay, material enjoyments are renounced, but there are so many mental pleasures that we seek after, like to be recognized, to put ourselves above other people, to this kama puja, loba puja, pratishta, this things that please the mind in a way that we become the center, or even which is maybe difficult to understand, but a lamentation can be so tasty. Even the disease can be an ecstasy for the ego, because it's about you. It's all about you. And that's why you have this psychosomatic hospital. It's down here. It means, what is that? You come in and there's nothing that it says you are not sick. I don't know what is the therapy, because it says that is the hospital for the sicknesses which are induced also not just by observable facts, but also about they are made up or how do you say, enhanced by our mind. So that is the point, that in spiritual life we must come to a point of being very careful, really thinking about what we read, and really trying to see how are we discerning things, how are we making choices, what are our choices based off, and that's how we will understand where we are. To be an observer of ourselves, because usually in the common language, when you say the word desire, people think that this is something you wish, but actually we understand this is something you do. This is what you act, and sometimes we are not conscious of that. That's why karma comes surprisingly to people. And in the days of yore, when I was not, and which was a few years ago, when I was not so trying to become a nice person, then in the bars we would see a person who is drunk, and he would go and almost like on purposefully hitting people, like walking and hitting people, and then everybody would say he's asking for a beating. So he's not conscious, but he's behaving in a way which will produce a beating for him. So this means our desire. So our desire is not always obvious. You can say, I desire to be a devotee. But then do you act like that? Or one devotee recently in some lecture was saying, you pray, oh Krishna, please give me some taste, give me some service or something. But are you acting according to your prayer? So we usually say, I'm praying so much, but Krishna is sleeping. I don't know what is he doing. He's not answering. But the point is, are you living according to your prayer? For example, let me be humble. So then, when you go and there is an authority which is younger than you and maybe has some issues and then presses you, how do you react? Do you try to see, okay, Krishna is now giving me just the right thing? You know, he's younger. He joined 4 months later than me, and he got this post, and he is now thinking he's big man. Are you thinking like that? Or are you saying, oh, Krishna is, trying to purify me, maybe this person has some trouble, maybe I should feel sorry for him, maybe I should help him, maybe I should give him my time. So that's how we see what is our desire. But the way we act, by the way we speak, how do we see our desire? Usually when we ask our friend, How am I acting? What am I doing? That's why we should have friends. Otherwise, it's really difficult to see. Are we living according to the scriptures or not? Are we trying to also do that part, like we yesterday said? It is about mercy. Of course, we are trying to be here just by being with devotees. This is the most important thing. Of all the angas, association of devotees is the most important thing. But this sadhu sangha is not just sadhu sangha, like association with a person who is a devotee or who is advanced, but it's also sat sangha or samyak sangha, the perfect sangha. It means that you have to know how to receive that sangha. Not just that you are there standing, but you have to know how to behave accordingly, like if he's a senior devotee or if he's your friend or if some new person who came. And especially with senior devotees, like for example, my problem was, and that again with Kadambakananda Maharaj, I had few times association with him, but he was just waiting. He was looking for me and waiting and saying, speak to me, speak to me. But I was always just being on my false ego and just holding. He always jokes. He says like, you have glues on your hands just going around the temple like this. But your behavior is not like this, but you are just like, But this is not proper, We should inquire, we should ask, we should speak our mind. And it's difficult. For my ego, it's very difficult. And I was just around him, just something, asking a question like, almost like dying, and he was looking, because he's like a very, very upbeat person, and he was like looking, they're so boring, and few times it happened with me like this, we should just go over that ego, and we have an opportunity to be with a devotee. We should just suffer a little bit and ask that question. We have on our mind so many things. And even if it's stupid, it's not stupid. And even if it's something strange, after that strangeness comes out, if the person is right, the right questions will also come out. But if we just hold on and just be in a corner, it will take so long. And this is what means intelligence. Intelligence means do the right thing. Do the right thing in the proper moment. But the right thing is not something that just comes up to your mind, but the Shastras teach us, if we go a little bit deeper in them, how to be aware of what is our way of thinking. Because as we said, if we have an anartha, if we place value on something that is not valuable, and it's really nicely said here, what is valuable, what is not valuable, then our intelligence will always think how to grant that desire. What is intelligence? It is the West says, it is the capability of dealing with problems, and it is a discerning thing. What is this, what is that? This is a table, this is tulsi. It's a difference. This is intelligence. It discerns. So you can also say this is good, this is bad. It's very important to understand. By seeing how my intelligence works, how I act, then I see what are my anarthas, or what are my wrong misconceptions, and I can try and pray and try to change them, and be aware of that. It is something that we can do. There is things that we cannot do, and usually we think about them, but there are many things that we can do, and we can actually do them. Usually our mind, it's also an ego trip, likes to think about things that we cannot do, like how is this person behaving, or we don't have so much money, or the weather is bad, and then I cannot do it. But there are many things that we can do, and this is also intelligence, to see what can you do and what can't you do. And then if you stay in that place, that what can you do, and you act upon it, your life will be so perfect, because you will always see new opportunities to grow, and it will be interesting. It will be interesting. If you always see what you cannot do, what is beyond you, what is other person's behavior, then your life is just anxiety, and it's so boring. And Kadambakananda Maharaj also said, I don't know, it just comes to mind, was speaking how you can choose to be Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai. Shri Gauranitai ki jai. You can choose to have a boring spiritual life, or you can choose to have a dynamic spiritual life. He was considering a boring spiritual life. You just sit down and you read. You just like, and you try to, avoid everything. But a lively and interesting spiritual life is when you see what you can do. Not just about thinking about yourself or these mental things that we were saying, but you can do some service, you can distribute books, you can help somebody without being asked, and so on, so on. So many things are there. And then your life becomes dynamic. And spiritual life becomes interesting. Because if Prabhupada is something, he's an acharya which empowers, and he was our deities are the deity. What are the Abhideya? I forgot. Abhideya. We are in Abhideya. The Jiva is in Abhideya. We are not in Sambandha, just understanding theoretically, or Prayojana. This is bestowed upon Krishna. This is His mercy. But we are in Abhideya. This is our thing. Abhideya means we bring everything to Krishna. We bring everything to Krishna. We are the doers. We are the in-between person. The person in between. So the person in between, what he does, he's always busy. He's always busy. And then everything becomes dynamic. Everything becomes dynamic. Busy in learning, busy in doing. So then spiritual life will not become boring. If spiritual life we think it's all about waiting for mercy, it's of course we should pray and we depend only on mercy. Our qualification is nothing. But there are so many things that we can do. So many things that we can do to open ourselves for mercy, and also to engage ourselves so our mind doesn't attack us and says, oh, this room is so boring, every day same room, every day same thing. Why is every day the same room? Why is every day the same tiles, and why is every day the same temple or the same community? If you are trying, because this is the things you don't have to worry about so much. You can focus on your doing. How can you contribute? How can you do better? If you travel like I do, because my brain is like this, vata, he cannot stop, then you cannot think about yourself, but you always come to some other place, then you think about what is this, what is that. You have to consider so many things, and then you don't have time for going deeper. And then when it becomes boring, and that means now you should see how you can contribute, then you change temple, and then tuk like this, and that's also intelligence. What is our intelligence? Its intelligence is saying, oh, here the devotees are not so good, and I feel this, I feel that here. I will find a better place. On the other, and then this is the problem when we don't get it, and we go to an authority and share this with him, and he says, no, wait for it, it will go away. Stay here, engage in some service, maybe change service or ask for something that can be more enlivening. But don't drop when it gets tough. Because usually emotional person, they drop it when it gets tough, when the pressure comes, when somebody, for example, when you get married, before you get married, you have so many ideas. When you get married, you see the truth. And that truth, it's not always pleasant. But this is your truth. Your life, you are not God, you're not creating your life. You already have it. You have to live it in a Krishna conscious way. You cannot only moan about how my life is like this and like that, like this. Anyway, you cannot change it. But it is Krishna's gift, because as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, if you just tolerate, anyway I'll give you just, if you are a devotee, just minimum of your karma. But if you just tolerate, you become entitled for spiritual advancement, because this is the point, that you tolerate, but not like a dog in India, that he gets beaten and just tolerate. Doesn't mean that. You tolerate by understanding why is this happening, what can I do, and how can I go through this, and being happy with difficulties, because they are a place of growing. And they are a place of actually seeing who we are. Like they said, an orange, you don't know if an orange is sweet until you squeeze it, and nobody likes to be squeezed. But then the life becomes dynamic. And it's difficult, of course, but anyway you're going to be squeezed. That is how life is. You cannot avoid that. But you're going to be squeezed outside, and you will also understand something about yourself, definitely. But you will not advance spiritually. And you will seek shelter in praise or intoxication or some other drug. So that is why it's important to understand that. And I'm thinking about it like I'm working, and also now trying to. I'm just staying a few days in the temple, and I can see in many ways it's exactly the same. You have so many similar relationships, similar problems, similar things, because it is still the material world in one sense. But in the temple, there is Krishna. At least if he's not in your heart, he's somewhere there. He's in the heart of other devotees. Of course, it's in our heart, but maybe we don't see it. And then, by doing the same thing as outside you are doing, you are actually spiritually advancing. And outside, you are just not using what you have been given properly, not responsibly using what you have been given. So that's why the intelligence is very important. Otherwise, you will decide something, and when the ball gets rolling, when you decide, no, I will not live in the temple, I will live outside, or when you decide, I will not stay a brahmachari, I will marry, if you decide bad things like I will leave my wife, or I will leave, then afterwards there are so many other things which will come. And it will be very difficult to get disentangled from that. So one little slip of intelligence can create so many problems. That's why we read Prabhupada's books daily, because he gives us intelligence. We say mind, intelligence is above the mind, and then the self is above. Yes, it would be nice, but usually the mind is quite up there, and intelligence is serving. So we should purify our intelligence by Shastra. This means, what does it mean? My intelligence says, I want to do this. And then I think, but that Shastra says that. No, it says the opposite. Okay, I'll do the opposite. And then I see, okay, I did the right thing. Maybe it takes some time, but I assure you, it is the right thing. So it is very important to give light to that fact that we could see ourselves and be careful in our spiritual life. Not become a priest, you know. Unfortunately, it has become like a term with some person who is just there hearing the confession and sweeping the church and speaking something boring. Even the Christians understood it, and now they have a whole new evangelization in the Christian church with some new TV show which came recently, a few years ago. And they have a whole group of priests, at least in my country, who are becoming dynamic, who are just pushing people to love God. Really speaking about just love God. You know, this is the point. Not just come here. They are waking up. Also, they are waking up because they have become so much in slumber. And why? One priest said like this: we need a persecution, because only then we are a good church. Because they have so much money, so much opulence, and then so many people come to sleep there. And because of that, that can be a thing. We're just sharing some things that came to mind because I met some devoted persons who are trying to be priests. So I know something about their problems. It's the same problems like everywhere. Same problem like everywhere. But they are also speaking the same thing. Go deeply in that. One thing interesting that Jesus said, somebody asked him, why are you speaking so many in allegories? Why are you not speaking directly? Tell us, what is that? He said, no, I will not tell you. I will tell you, few of you. I will not tell the masses. I want my students to be inquisitive. I want them to be eager to understand, to come and question, to really want to understand. Not go, okay, he said this, okay, he must be saintly, so this is good. No, we shouldn't see. Oh, Prabhupada said that this is exactly the same. This is truth. Yes, it's truth. But did you understand it? No. Then ask somebody. Then otherwise you'll miss it and make a wrong decision. And also, today is the appearance day of Shrivas Pandit. And so just a few lines I want to read about that fact. I have a few minutes, I think. Just one small point from this computer is very divisive. It is here and it divides me from the audience. It's not nice. It's like I'm hiding behind. Technology is not always great. So we say Pancha Tattva Makam Krishna Bhakta Rupa Svarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhakta Akyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. This is Pancha Tattva Mahamantra we say when usually deities are Pancha Tattva, then this is the so I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Krishna, who is non-different from his features as a devotee, devotional incarnation, devotional manifestation, pure devotee, and devotional energy. So here it's explaining who is who, and then it says that Srivas Thakur is Bhakta, a devotee. So he is one of the very, very important personalities. In the Adi Lila, chapter 10, text 10 says, Dui Sakara Upasakya Tansabara Ganana Yandra Grihe Mahaprabhura Sada Sankirtana, where is mentioning Srivas Pandit. There is no counting the sub-branches of these two branches. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu held congregational chanting daily at the house of Srivas Pandit. So Srivas Angan is one of the holy places there, just when you go from our temple on the Bhaktisiddhanta road, you go towards Krishna Nagar or towards the Chaitanya Mat, and then on the right side is Srivas Angan. In that temple there is a broken mridanga is on the altar. It's from one of the pastimes. Some Giriraj Maharaj commented here, the Sankirtan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed at Srivas Angan is very significant. There is a parallel between the pastime of Sri Chaitanya and the pastimes of Krishna. And the nocturnal kirtan of Srivas Angan in Gaura Lila corresponds to the Ras Lila in Krishna's pastimes. It was the highest ecstasy. To enable Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his confidential devotees to enter deeply into the kirtan and relish its mellows without disturbance, Srivas Thakur would lock the door of his house. So Mahaprabhu with his associate had very intimate also association, and also for, I think for 1 year, if I'm correct, they had this, as I remember being said, really intimate, and it can represent ourselves. If we first do really intense bhajans, and then every day, not just one year, when we chant or when we can do really some substantial service, and then we go out and spread it. Otherwise, it's people have a sense. Even the dullest person in the world has a sense of duplicity, or of when somebody is just not confident, or when they can sense something is wrong, and then it becomes a problem. People like Ananda Chaitanya Prabhu or Swayam Bhagavan Maharaj, what was his name? Sutapa Prabhu. When they come, with these long hands and these things, he can bring a person and jump around him and touch his head and do so many things which nobody can do. But a person would just be like this, because they have something. People don't even understand who is this person. Why is he acting so in such a different way? Or Ananda Chaitanya Prabhu, he just comes and politely asks, and people just surrender. It's you can see that if you speak with these persons, you will see that something is there. So also, she was at his house. This intimate kirtan were there, so we can see that what kind of special person was him. And he had these pastimes which are unconceivable, which they had a kirtan and his son left the body, and he says to his wife, and you just quietly moan because the kirtan is going on. You cannot disturb. So what can we say? These are person, out of this world, like the young Americans would say. Yes, this is the famous pastimes which he had. Just let me see. Oh, maybe we can read this. As mentioned, the house of Srivas Pandit was 200 yards away from the house of Mahaprabhu, which was called Srivas Angan. Every night in the Srivas Angan, ecstatic Nam Kirtan used to happen. Still, the usual atheistic people were not allowed in that Sankirtan, and thus, those all were very much envious of devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At that time, the Muslim emperor was ruling India, and in Bengal there was the governance of Nawab Hussain Shah. One of the ministers was Chand Kazi, and as well as Chand Kazi was the spiritual advisor of Nawab. At that time, there was a predominance of his reign in most areas and in the court of Nawab. The house of Chand Kazi was not far from the Srivas Angan, and already he was annoyed by the night Sankirtan. And when he heard the complaints of those atheistic and envious people, he decided to warn and stop this Sankirtan. Once a Sankirtan was going on, and when Sankirtan Yatra came near his house, he came out and snatched the Mridanga from a devotee and hit that Mridanga on the ground furiously and broke it. This is why the place is also known as Kolbhanga Danga. Kolbhanga Danga, a place where Kazi broke the Mridanga. Anyway, that I will not narrate the whole pastimes, but we can see that once you get empowered and then you come out, and then even the person like which are Muslims and which are so animical that they would break your things, that they would touch you, you know. Usually people, if you touch somebody on the street, he can call the police, but he came and break the Mridanga. So really in a consciousness, really not favorable, but the devotees disarmed him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disarmed him yes, so in this time we can remember Srivas Thakur, who is opening the door. It says somewhere, opening the door for our entrance into the spiritual life. If I remember correctly, as the Panchatattva goes, the Srivas Thakur represents Sadhu Sangha, and then Bhajana Kriya is represented by Advaita Acharya, means rules, and then Anartha Nivritti is represented by Nityananda Prabhu, and then taste is represented by Gadadhar Pandit. It goes like this, and anyway, Srivas Thakur is the one who opens the door. He represents the pure devotee who introduces us to the higher realms in spiritual life. So we should. It's nice to read, and to even these portions with have only names, or with this mention what are his brothers. It's it's auspicious. That's also a facet of our intelligence, that spiritual intelligence means when you come in Chaitanya Charitamrita and you see 20,000 pages of just names, you understand that they are mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And even if I cannot perceive with my super senses, which can usually perceive everything, I should still read it. And because it is said that it will purify